We are ready to roll here at the Voice of College Football, Florida State, and our Seminoles live show that comes your way every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 149 consecutive shows, and you know this guy right here, Jason Parker, NBC 6. I won't even try to attempt to figure out his attendance record. I'll bypass all the jokes, Jason, just to say it's stellar. It's stellar.
It's stellar, but I do want to point out something, though. Number one, after last week's brunch appearance that we had of the show, now all of a sudden, now that we're back on our normal time slot, Logan and James can't be here for that one, apparently. But I also want to point out that you took inspiration from me. And I think the viewers need to see the inspiration that the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Parker has. Last week, I come to you for a few minutes from my new location, well, my location of work, because I was at the station at the time. And now Mark is inspired, so he's coming to us from a new location, apparently. So I mean, we're inspiring people here, ladies and gentlemen. We are making dreams happen with MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football.
So the inspiration from Jason caused me to get in my car, load up everything I've got in regards to at least production equipment and enough clothes, of course, for the week, and come out to stay with my family.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yes.
How are the Rogers family? How's everyone doing?
Mom's fine. My sister's off on vacation, so I'm helping out here. Everyone's fine. I've gotten to see some buddies here in Ohio this week. It's always a good time.
Beautiful.
Yes, and we finally got some, I won't call it Florida weather, but something close to it. It was 70 degrees and sunny today.
It was storming down here all day today, so congratulations. That's our Florida weather.
Okay. Well, we know the Big Game James is doing his best to join us. He has popped on here 2 or 3 times, and we keep losing his feed. So
the Wi-Fi is working. We know the Wi-Fi is working at his radio station in Jacksonville.
We're rooting for James to get it done here. And Logan, who knows? I think there's a bit of confusion over when his big vacation's coming up.
I think he's celebrating Tom Brady coming back. Now, obviously, with Bucs game day, I think Tom Brady was inspired and said, you know what, I have to give it one more run with Logan Robinson. So I think that's where that came back from.
Was it necessary for Tom Brady to, number one, unretire within 2 months, and do it during Selection Sunday?
I'm going to leave my opinion on that one. I think that Tom Brady can do what he wants to because he's earned that right. But that being said, I think that this was a disastrous move on his part. That's just my opinion. Tougher schedule this year for the Bucs. I think it's going to be a tougher road for them to get back to the Super Bowl. So.
I agree with you that Tom Brady can do whatever he wants, but I think more so he can do whatever he wants because he's an American citizen. Sure, he can do whatever he wants. If he can unretire, he can announce it whenever he wants, but I think a little bit better awareness of the sporting landscape would have been nice for him not to try to preempt a moment that there are 21-year-olds all over the place, 19, 18-year-old kids that will never reach anywhere close to his magnitude on the sporting landscape. And this is their one, sorry to steal the cliche, one shining moment. And he's announcing his unretirement at the same time that the selections are going on.
I think there's also part of him that was a little bit, for lack of a term, pissed off about the way his retirement was initially announced, that he wasn't the one who was able to, quote unquote, break the news. So I think that might have been something like that.
And I get that. And he made that known that he had not announced it at the time, but then he went ahead and did announce it. Okay.
I do like that our first message is a one-word quack. I do like that. I don't know if that's a symbol of my work, your work. I think one of us was just called a quack. I'll take that one.
You're going to take quack. Eric is all over the place for us, so we appreciate Eric. He is here trumpeting the voice of college football all over the place. So thank you, Eric. Of course, obviously an Oregon fan. So he's quacking all by himself, and he did it again. Another quack.
Quack.
All right, let's get to the 2 news items involving Florida State football this week. One very unfortunate, the other one can be interpreted anyway, but we will certainly address it here. So first and foremost, Winston Wright, the talented wide receiver coming in from West Virginia, caught 63 passes for the Mountaineers last year. So a welcome addition to this team, but unfortunately in an auto accident over the weekend.
Yeah, reportedly got into an automobile accident in Savannah, Georgia. Different reports are saying that he was in there was a 2-car accident. He was not in the car that was allegedly at fault, that another car turned into their car, kept them from going. But he went to the hospital with a what was described as a serious but not life-threatening injury. Reports are saying that it was a leg injury. From there, obviously, let's just look at it as a person first and foremost. Obviously, we wish the absolute best, speedy recovery to both him, anyone else who was injured in the accident. Obviously, first and foremost, that comes before anything football related. But obviously, we are a football show, so we do have to talk about the football aspect of it. If you are Florida State, we've talked about how much the wide receiver position was going to be a question mark entering this season, and how much the transfers coming in, Wright, Michael Pittman from Oregon, players from Arizona State, other locations who were coming in here, how this was going to matter. So I guess the question of concern comes in is if this is one less target, does this open up more room for guys like Pittman and some of the other transfers coming in to get more exposure, or is this just another hit? And like we've talked about, you said this before, after last season with Andrew Parchment being an utter disappointment as a transfer from when he came in from Kansas, and the other wide receivers come in, there's no real bona fide number one wide receiver. So that's the question now: is will Winston Wright possibly, God willing, the injury is not that serious, will he be able to possibly be back in time for the fall?
Yeah, so again, this happened over the weekend. It's going to be some time before we completely understand where he stands physically. But of course, our best goes out to Winston Wright, first and foremost, as a human being, that he's just okay, which it appears to be so at this point. But then beyond there, of course, we want to see him on the field for Florida State producing results.
And I think this will open up, once again, I hate to be the guy looking at it from the football aspect of it in a situation like this, but I think it will open up the door. It does open up a spot to allow guys, like Pittman, like Jones, like some of the other transfers coming in. It's going to open up a spot like that. And so that's going to be the question I think this is one step closer to, I'm going to come out and say it, I think Michael Pittman is now one step closer. Is being one step closer to being either the number one or number two wide receiver for Florida State for that opener against Duquesne. I think that's where we're setting on that course right now, because Pittman's now going to get that extra exposure here in spring football.
We will get to your comments and questions, as we always do here at the Voice of College Football and our Florida State Seminoles show. Jason Parker's here. Big Game James is out there. He's out there.
Somewhere.
He's out there.
I'm back in my home studio here. You liked my work studio last week, but I decided to bring it back home here now that we're back in our normal time slot.
It's what we're accustomed to seeing, Jason. So we feel comfortable.
You missed the spear. Don't.
We're at ease now.
Absolutely.
Yes, we missed the spear. We're at ease to see you in your normal environment.
Not dressed up.
No. I thought maybe we were upgrading the decorum here at the Voice of College Football on our Florida State show.
Maybe we'll do a return trip one time. We'll see.
Okay.
That was special.
This is a curious case involving one Jarvis Brownlee.
Yes.
So NIL, of course, started on July 1st of last season, and all sorts of speculation, including here on this show, as to how this would impact college football and all the things that could benefit the players. Of course, those are obvious, but what could be the downside of all this? And now we have our first, that I know of, our first incident of a player sitting out.
Mm-hmm. So there are various, as with anything, there's three sides to every story. One side, another side, and the truth. So right now, I'm just trying to call Mark Rogers as we're on a live show here. But so the story around with Jarvis Brownlee is that reportedly he is frustrated with NIL deals, and he's frustrated with the lack of what he perceives as the NIL deal opportunities that he's getting in Tallahassee. Obviously, there are some reports that he has an NIL deal, but he did not meet the eligibility requirements to get the money from the NIL deal. So that's where the question comes into play there of whose side of the story is right. Does he have the NIL deal? Does he not have the NIL deal? I think there's also a question that comes into play. I'm going to both defend Jarvis and slap him around at the same time here when I say this. I support the players getting NIL deals, and we'll talk about a little bit more about this in a moment. I'm a firm believer that you're playing the game of college football, you're playing at a competitive level, you're playing at a Power 5 school, and let's just be honest. You're one hit away from potentially being paralyzed. That's the bold-faced truth of it. You're one hit away from potentially being paralyzed. Make the money you can while you can. That being said, I think Jarvis Brownlee would have a better case and would have a lot more people on his side if he hadn't given up the game-winning touchdown to Jacksonville State in arguably the worst loss in Florida State program history. And I think that's where a lot of people are not willing to come to Jarvis's defense on this one, because they see the touchdown he gave up to Jacksonville State. They see several other big plays that he gave up in losses over the course of last season. So that's why you're not going to get a lot of backing from a lot of people within the program. I think Brownlee also sees it as he's a 4-star recruit from Miami, Florida, Miami Central High School. And I think what he also sees, in addition to what a lot of people are talking about is the lack of money coming in on the NIL side in Tallahassee, is he's also seeing what's happening down here in South Florida. The University of Miami is throwing money both at coaches, and they're throwing money at players on NIL deals. John Ruiz, a multi-billionaire lawyer who's related to the Cristobal's through marriage, is one of these people who's helping to make sure that every player has an NIL deal, so every player is at least getting something. Brownlee is seeing this, and I think he's seeing, okay, I left my hometown to come to Tallahassee, and this is what's happening back in my hometown. This is what is happening back at my hometown school. I don't think Jarvis doesn't realize is that right now Florida State doesn't have the money that a big market city like Miami. It's not even the fact that Miami is a big market program, because they don't have the alumni base that a Florida State or a Florida or a big public school does, because it's a smaller private school. But they have a big city money base, which opens up the door to potentially having certain renegade boosters. We'll just say their name, Nevin Shapiro, that type of booster, who could possibly come in and influence the program in a potentially dangerous way. I think that Florida State, he's also doesn't realize that Florida State's in a position where Florida State is going on 5 straight disappointing seasons, 4 straight losing seasons. The first time Florida State's had 4 straight losing seasons since the mid-1970s. This is not the time right now where Florida State can go out and say, hey, give us all your money right now. We've earned it. Look at the performance we're earning on the field. Because right now Florida State has not lived up to that hype or lived up to saying we deserve all this money. But I think it comes back to the fact that of all the players on that roster who probably shouldn't be asking for money at this moment, it probably shouldn't be the player who gave up the touchdown to Jacksonville State in the worst loss in program history. Jarvis might just want to sit this one out. And I think it's going to end up being he's going to end up transferring. Whether he transfers back down here south to an FAU or an FIU, whether he transfers to another program in the state, whether he leaves the state of Florida or whatnot. But I think you have seen your last Jarvis Brownlee in a Florida State uniform.
Okay, I'm going to respond to this situation. And Jason, I want you to hold me accountable here, because I didn't want to interrupt your explanation of the situation. So I was off there and I grabbed a phone call and shut it off. And I have not looked into this situation, so I don't want to speak ignorantly. So I'm going to address it from my perspective based on what I know. But if I'm in error, you call me on that.
Gotcha.
Here's my thought. I, like you, believe that these players should have the opportunity to benefit from NIL benefits, money, revenue. But I understand all the points that you gave in defending that right, making tons of money for the university, risking their health, all those things that you just stated, I think are completely legit. But for me, aren't necessarily the number 1, 2, or 3 reason why they should have that opportunity to benefit. I think that they should have the opportunity just because they're American citizens. And why should, just because they have decided and been signed to play and receive a scholarship from a university, should they be unlike any other adult in America that has the right and the opportunity to earn money on the side? So that's number one for me. Yes, I believe that that right should be protected, to go out there, and whether you're going to set up a lemonade stand or whatever you want to do to earn extra money. And fortunately for these players, it basically is comes from having notoriety and popularity based on playing a popular sport. So I think that that should be protected. Yes. In this case, though, what has happened to the basic agreement that these athletes are rewarded for their talent, their skill, their ability, and given a scholarship that pays for room and board and education? And that is the agreement that binds them to participating in their chosen sport. What's the NIL portion of this have to do with it?
I think the NIL, well, and that's where the question comes into play. Like I said earlier, there's a debate about whether he either has an NIL deal to begin with, or there's another rumor that he allegedly has an NIL deal but did not meet the eligibility requirements to get the money from the NIL deal. So that's the other question that comes into play on this one. No one really knows exactly 100% where it's coming from at this point. I guess my issue with the NIL, and like I said before, and it's going to sound like I'm just picking on Miami, but it's any big market city, Georgia Tech and Atlanta, Houston, USC and LA. There's a lot of programs in big cities where you have a fan base that has no tie to the school other than being a fan. And that's where the slippery slope comes into play. And I used Miami as an example because it was the most notorious one. Nevin Shapiro, the most notorious renegade booster at the University of Miami, went to the University of South Florida in Tampa. Was not a student at the University of Miami. Went to USF, dropped out from the University of South Florida. That's the problem that you run into with a lot of these programs. Versus you have a Florida State, and I'm a member of the Alumni Association. I've been a member of the Booster Club for over a decade now. But it's also a school where, number one, the alumni base is spread out more than a lot of other places. It's not concentrated in one specific area. And it's an alumni fan base where we don't have a lot of the big money boosters that a lot of other schools do. It's just a fact. We don't have the same big money business boosters that the University of Florida has, for example, because it was an established school long before we came into play in 1947. And we've just starting to finally get boosters that can be on that level. That's where we're at right now. So the thing's going to come into play for Florida State. And I think what Jarvis doesn't realize, and not just Jarvis, but other players may not realize, right now is not the best time to be asking for money if you are a Florida State Seminole football player. If you don't give up a touchdown to Jacksonville State and Florida State becomes bowl eligible, maybe wins a bowl game and finishes 7-6 last season, as opposed to 5-7, you go from what was a 3-6 record in 2020 to a 7-6 record, all of a sudden you have a little bit more of an argument. I can get a few more dollars. We've started to turn this thing around. But at 3-6 to 5-7, still a losing season, a fourth straight losing season, you're still kind of not at the mercy of being able to say, yes, I've earned that money. Now, if Florida State has a turnaround season this year, yes, obviously that stuff comes in more into play. But for right now, Jarvis Brownlee has no reason to be asking for anything. And I think it does come back to the fact that he's seen a lot of other players that he played in high school with at Miami Central who are coming into the University of Miami or who have played at the University of Miami for a couple of the last few seasons, who are all of a sudden getting money. And with all due respect, he's looking at that from Jarvis's aspect saying, all right, I'm playing for a school that beat you guys, and you're making more money than I am on the side. Where is that? Where's the just in that? And that's I may not necessarily agree with where he's coming from, but I think that's where he's seeing that.
Mr. G14 Classified, we appreciate you being here all the time and supporting us here at the Voice of College Football, Florida State, and encouraging everyone to hit that like button. It's easy to do. It still confounds me, Jason, that let's say we get 2,000 views on this video post. There's usually like 150 likes. Way less than 10% of the people can't just. And I made this admission the other day. I said, I get it. I have enjoyed all sorts of YouTube content over the years, and it never crossed my mind. Sometimes I'd hit the like button if I thought of it, and other times I enjoyed all sorts of videos. But now, because of what I do and because of the ask that we make each week and on other shows, I'm more cognizant to be like, okay, I should like this video. So I do understand the apathy because I was in that place as well. So I get it. You just watch whatever you watch and don't think about. But we are on here asking you to please hit the like button. So please do that. It's simple.
Maybe you could offer an NIL deal with the viewers. Like you hit the like button a certain amount of time, you get, X amount of payment or something. Maybe. Once again, that'll come out of your check, not mine.
Yeah. Anyway, so
no, we're moving on from that idea. Oh, yeah, we're moving on.
Okay, I will. If this is not the case, I will apologize beforehand to Jarvis Brownlee, because you had stated some of this is a bit sketchy in regards to the specifics and details. But let's make a quick assumption here in the case that, let's say he is making the determination, I didn't get paid, therefore I'm not playing. So I'm sitting out. If I'm Florida State, I'm kicking him off campus.
I mean, I get where you come from with that. I feel like, and I think this has been a deeper issue both in the state of Florida, is the fact that there are no real clear rules on that. Like, I get that if you're a scholarship athlete, you're an enrolled student at Florida State University. So the question then comes into play: if you choose not to play, are you suspended? Are you suspended from the team? Are you allowed to? But then, if you're suspended from the team, do you lose part of your scholarship, which means your meal money, your anywhere you live, if you have to live in the dorm on campus? I feel like there's a lot of questions that come into play there, and I feel like in the rush to get the NIL's deals through before last July, I feel like there's a lot of questions that still remain in the state. And I feel like there's a lot of other programs, using Miami as an example, that are just throwing money at the athletes and keeping the athletes happy by making sure the checks come in on time so that there's no real questions, so that everyone's happy, everyone's going to class, everyone's staying on their scholarship. And at a school like Florida State, there's a lot of questions. So that's where I feel like there's a lot left to go.
This is where I separate this situation from a typical suspension. Okay. Player A goes out and up until this incident is completely in good standing on the football team, decent grades, whatever the case may be, but they go out and they get a DUI. Okay. And the football team, so they broke a rule. They broke a law, actually, in this case. But anyway, they did something wrong. The football program, the school, is making a determination, okay, your punishment is we are suspending you for 3 games. Well, that's a punishment that is going to end. It's a predetermined punishment to say this is your punishment for your actions, but you're still in school, you're on the team, but we're going to suspend you. In this case, this is completely, as it appears, up to Brownlee. He's making the initiative to say, I'm not playing football. Well, the reason you're at this school and have a scholarship is because you are a football player. Therefore, if you refuse to play football, in my eyes, you're no longer a student.
Well, and I think he also sees, like you see, for example, he sees what Jordan Travis was able to do and able to make a profit off a 4th down and 14 pass. And he's selling, sweaters, T-shirts, other items, basically building off one play against Miami and a win over Miami last year, and is making money off that. I feel like I guess I could understand where Jarvis Brownlee is coming from if it was any other player but Jarvis Brownlee. I feel like if it was any other player on that defense or that offense, yes. But I just have a feeling like we have seen the last of him in a Florida State uniform. I feel like he will be, before the spring, I think he'll be gone.
All right, folks, we appreciate everybody being here. Leave your comments and your questions. We have hit on the 2 items that we wanted to hit on. So if you missed any of the conversation thus far, of course, once the video posts, please check out our conversation on Winston Wright. Unfortunate car accident over the weekend, caught 63 balls at West Virginia last year. Hopefully we will see him soon on the field. And of course, this Jarvis Brownlee NIL incident.
I do want to address John Culliver. They're asking a question, why can't McClain be the number 1? I think he could. I think there's a legitimate question right now, and we've talked about it a lot since last year, and we've joked about Mark's distrust of Jordan Travis. I think Mark thinks Jordan Travis is a good quarterback, but I will admit, he still has room to improve if he wants to be in the upper half of the ACC. I think McClain was a good option. He had a few great plays, a few great highlights last year, touchdown against North Carolina and whatnot. But right now, I don't think McClain has done enough of his body of work to be in the discussion to be number 1. When you're comparing him to Pittman from Oregon, when you're comparing him to Jones from Arizona State, we're comparing for what Wright did at West Virginia. I feel like the number 1 wide receiver is going to be a transfer at this rate. Yeah, but we did beat Miami, though, Hurricane grind mode. And Miami fans, by the way, I love the people I work with who are like, FSU sucks. Yes, but we still beat you. You can talk smack. We still beat you.
I know you enjoy this one as well,
yes,
Jason.
Go for it. Oh, absolutely. No, but you know what? They did win the ACC Coastal and scored 3 points in the title game against Clemson. But yes, in fact, I think we've won more ACC championships in the last 10 years. But we've won the same number of championships in the last 10 years as the points they scored in that title game. So, yes.
So, Jason, I'm in the process of going through all-time program rankings. So I built a 10-point criteria, which you can either agree with or not agree with. It includes winning percentage, national championships, conference championships, All-American, consensus All-Americans, major award winners, Heisman trophies, major bowl wins, etc.
We are getting into the dog days of summer here with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We're going blast from the past here.
This is what we do. We like to rank. We like to rate things.
I like it.
That's what we like to do. So I knew what I was going to find out with the ACC. So, and I went into this project fully understanding that it's difficult to completely get a handle on any of these conferences all time because there are so many programs that have been in and out of conferences. Florida State, of course. Miami, of course, has only been in the ACC. So to evaluate the entire ACC that goes back to 1953, when you've got schools that just joined 10 years ago, Louisville or others, Florida State that joined in 1992, that's why I include all these other factors. What I found intriguing was I did the Big 12 first, then I did the Pac-12. Well, the Pac-12 is owned by USC. They own every category. It's not even close. Then the Big 12 is, of course, owned by Oklahoma and Texas. And then because of Oklahoma being a much better program over the last 10 to 12 to 15 years, they have separated themselves from Texas. But I knew going in what I was going to get. And that's exactly what I got. In the ACC, though, there's an odd, and again, I'm going to extend this past these schools' membership in the ACC. But if you go back to the original 6 in the ACC, Clemson's by far been the best program out of that original charter membership. They've got the most championships, 26, etc. But if you look at Florida State, since joining in 1992, there's no question Florida State has been the most successful program in the ACC since joining. And of course, much of their success before joining is, involved in these metrics I'm building. But in joining the ACC and winning 15 titles in 29 seasons is remarkable. And then with Miami, of course, as you well know, their entire football prowess is built on a 20-year block.
Mm-hmm.
Before they were horrible. Since then, they've been marginal. And it's just interesting to add those three up because I knew, not like the Big 12 or the Pac-12, that there would be an interesting comparison between those three because of the dominance in different ways. And when you put it all together, it is a pretty interesting comparison between those three.
Well, the ACC, I mean, you look at what the ACC was in the nearly 40 seasons before Florida State joined. And you look at it, I believe Maryland won the national title in 1953. Clemson won the national title in 81. Georgia won the national title in 90. But I believe that's it as far as national titles go. That's 3 national titles in 40 seasons. Then Florida State comes in and wins the national title in its 2nd season in the ACC and wins another one in its 7th season, or 8th season. 8th season in the ACC in 1999. But the ACC was in utter trouble before Florida State came in. The current, basically what's happening now with Clemson being now the dominant force in the ACC, even though Pitt won the ACC this year over Wake Forest, but Clemson I would still argue is the dominant team in the conference. And having more of a wide open spreading and having a lot of these teams that weren't football powers before getting better has a lot to do with why Florida State came in. It was Florida State needs to come in, get this dominant force in, comes out, and for the first 9 seasons in the conference, lost a total of 2 games, 2 ACC games in 9 seasons. But what happened was everyone else got better around them. In 2001, all of a sudden a Maryland team, Ralph Friedgen came in, built that team to win the ACC. All of a sudden, you have teams like Virginia Tech that came in. Virginia Tech started winning the ACC. And then all of a sudden, you see Clemson start to get better and become a Clemson team. But that's because Florida State was able to come in and make that conference a better conference. Where I think the big mistake was, and once again, we're going to do my favorite thing I love to do here, rip the University of Miami. Miami came in all cocky in 2004 and said, all right, we're going to come in. We just dominated the Big East. We were in the Big East for about 12, 13 seasons. Basically dominated, ran shop over there for a majority of the time. We're going to come in, all Miami. Oh, it's going to be all Canes Conference, all Canes Conference, all Canes Conference. And in 18 seasons, they have not won the ACC one time. In 18 seasons, they've had one 10-win season. In 18 seasons, they've had 3 losing seasons. They've had 3 losing seasons and 3 bowl wins in their 18 seasons in the ACC. Miami has not lived up to their end of the bargain. Virginia Tech has. Virginia Tech and Florida State played each other in 2 ACC championship games. And the argument was, why put Miami and Florida State in different divisions? Because it was, hey, we're going to put them in different divisions. They'll play every year in the ACC championship game. And that still hasn't happened. Virginia Tech played up to their end of the bargain. Clemson became better in the Atlantic Division. But I think that's where the ACC needs to get better. The ACC needs Miami and Florida State to get back to even early 2000s level, Florida State and Miami.
Absolutely.
But that's going to be the question. Who is going to get back first? And if you listen, Miami fans, there's a lot of Miami fans who think that they're going to be better this year, that they're going to be light years better. And I don't think it will be this year. I think Miami still needs one more year. I think 2023 will be the year that Miami gets a lot better under Mario Cristobal. I think 2023 will also be the year Florida State will be better. I think this is going to be the year where both programs need to take that step forward so that 2023 could become the year that you may end up seeing for the first time in what would then be the 20 seasons that Miami's been in the ACC, that you could actually see them playing the ACC championship game.
So since Miami joined the ACC, how many ACC championships has Florida State won? What about 5, 6?
4. We're 4-1 in ACC championship games since Miami's joined the conference, and Miami's 0-1.
When did the ACC championship game start?
05. The 05 season, because the 04
So
season.
that was Miami's second
right,
season.
The
I
04
believe,
season, right? Miami and Virginia Tech joined. There were only 11. So there was an 11 team conference, no championship game, because in 05, Boston College joined and they split to the different divisions.
Okay. I actually thought Florida State would have more since 04.
Sorry, we let you down.
Well, still 4-0, but I just thought it was a little more than that. A few more than that. Yes, it's an interesting comparison all time between the two schools. It so much is. Yes.
No, and I feel like that's the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue that both schools have, and I say this as somebody who is a graduate of Florida State and a booster of Florida State, but also somebody who covers the Canes on a nearly weekly basis. Both schools, and there's a message to both schools, so I'm not just picking on Miami, I'm also picking on Florida State. Both schools need to stop living in the past. Both schools need to realize, what you had in the past was great. Great moments in Miami history, great moments in Florida State history. You have to move forward with it. Because if you continue to live in the past, if you continue to talk about the 2013 team, the 99 team, the 01 team, that's where the problem's going to play. And right there, good thing staff is the best in the ACC. Yes, you've got a great staff of assistant coaches. None of them have any eligibility to actually play the game. And with all due respect, yes, will I say Tyler Van Dyke is a better quarterback than Jordan Travis? Yes, because I know somebody's going to sit here and say this. Oh, Tyler Van Dyke's a great quarterback. Yes, Tyler Van Dyke is a great quarterback. Yes, Miami has great players. But Miami does not have the mentality to be the Miami that they were in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. That's just a fact. Miami has 10-win talent and a 7-win mentality. Miami's going to lose to Texas A&M. They're going to lose to Clemson. We know that. And on paper, those should be the only two games Miami should lose this season, if you want to talk about talent-wise. But Miami will end up losing a game to Virginia Tech, or they'll end up losing a game to Virginia, or they'll end up losing to North Carolina, or they'll end up losing to Florida State, or they'll end up losing a combination of those games. And should they? No. But what's going to happen at the end of the season is Miami, a team with 10-win talent, will end up 7-5 or 8-4 and going, gee, I wonder what happened. Gee, I thought it was all about the U. And Florida State is the same way. I'm not just picking on Miami. Florida State should have the talent on paper to win no less than 8 games this season. On paper alone, Florida State should be an 8-4 team. But I'm still sitting here right now as a devout Florida State fan sitting there saying, I'm concerned we get to 6-6 because I don't think right now we have the mentality to be an 8-win team. And right now, Jordan's head, or excuse me, right now, I apologize, Logan's head is screaming right now. Logan's head is just bursting and saying, how dare you insult the Noles?
I do think that Miami should be playing in the ACC championship game this year. I think they have a more talented team than North Carolina, but I think that North Carolina has been the one school in the division that has recruited with them in recent years since Mack Brown showed up, certainly, and even before that, when North Carolina was awful, winning only 5 games its previous 2 years before Mack Brown, they were still recruiting in the 20s. Yeah, Florida State should win 7 games this year. They really should. They've got a team that's decent. It's improving. It's better. The one thing I'll say, though, Miami, yes, as we sit here in March, they are not on Texas A&M's level. They are not on Clemson's level. But I would not be surprised if they figure out a way to win one of those games. I think it's big for them to win one of those games, to finally beat someone with a pulse. They haven't won what I would consider to be a big game. Now, the Florida State rivalry is what it is. You know, they could both be 2-10, and that's a big win. So I'm discounting those wins against marginal Florida State teams. When they beat Notre Dame, meaning Miami beat Notre Dame and Hard Rock in 17, I think it was a week before or after they beat Virginia Tech, a pretty good Virginia Tech team. That's the last time they've beaten good football teams.
Oh, I agree. But here's the thing. What's going to happen with Miami, you can see how it's going to end up playing out. Because here's the thing. I graduated from Florida State in 06. I've been down here ever since. So I've been here for 16 seasons of this. I've heard the same song and dance every single offseason. It's all about the U. The U is back. The U is back. The U is back. Randy Shannon comes in. Al Golden comes in. Mark Richt comes in. Manny Diaz comes in. Mario Crystal comes in. Hey, we got a great recruiting class. Oh, the U is here. Oh, we got this great assistant coach. Oh, the U is back. The U is back. The U is back. There is no reason the University of Miami should have lost. Alabama and Michigan State were better teams last season, 100%. There is no reason that Miami team should have lost to North Carolina, Virginia, or Florida State. There is absolutely no reason that they should have lost to any of those three teams. Miami was better than all three of those teams. And you look at their schedule this year. Yeah, let's say you lose to Texas A&M in the third game of the season. Clemson, they're going to play in a bowl game? Okay, cool, got it. They're not going to play in the ACC championship game. Miami should have been the ACC championship game last year, and they didn't because Miami chokes. This is Miami's biggest problem. Miami cannot get over that mental block. So this coming season, it's the question's going to be, where will the mental block hit? Does it hit when they have their ACC opener on the 8th of October against North Carolina? Does it hit when they go to Virginia Tech? Does it hit when they go to Virginia? They got to play Clemson 2 games after Florida State. Is it going to be a team like a Georgia Tech? I don't think it's going to be Georgia Tech, but you never know at this rate. Miami has to mentally get over the fact and remember the fact they are Miami, but not act like, oh, we're the U, we deserve it because we are Miami because of what happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Realize you have better talent than a lot of these guys and play up to that talent.
The one thing I'll say about all the coaching hires that you just mentioned at Miami is Golden, Diaz, even going back to Larry Coker, despite what he inherited and won a national championship, and Randy Shannon as well, is none of those coaches accomplished anything before they got to Miami as a head coach, nor did they show themselves to be a capable coach to accomplish anything after they left Miami. None of them did anything before or after their Miami stint. Now, Mark Richt, different case. Top 10 coach at Georgia, produced annually top 10 teams at Georgia. Great success, albeit no national championships, but otherwise great run at Georgia. Okay. His demise, I consider now in the aftermath a little bit different. He had health issues, made a poor choice in tying himself to his son and all of that. So this Mario Cristobal hiring might be another version of Mark Richt, but just a Mark Richt not that he's accomplished anything close to Mark Richt, but he has proven to be successful at a big-time program. So Miami's at least hired someone who has proven to be successful prior to the Miami job.
I will give Mario Cristobal credit. Mario Cristobal's doing a lot of the same things that I will also give Jimbo Fisher credit for when Jimbo Fisher came into Florida State. Jimbo Fisher came into Florida State and admitted that Florida State wasn't going to be like the Florida State team that they had been a decade before, that there was going to have to be a rebuild. They rebuilt it. He brought his assistants in. They recruited great players. Florida State was able to rebuild it into a national championship winning program. The problem, you are 100% correct. When Randy Shannon got hired, when Al Golden got hired, it was, hey, we're a 5-time national championship winning team. Look at all these national titles we won 10 plus years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Mario Cristobal has come in and basically said, we're going to have to rebuild this program. You need to be a little bit patient. Give me some time. And that's what I'm saying. I think this year, if Miami is 8-4 this season, Miami fans should be happy because there will be that sense of improvement. Number one, because also number two, your schedule gets a lot easier next year. In 2024, you have to play Florida, Notre Dame, Florida State, in addition to North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and whatnot on that schedule. Get through this season because next season could be the season where Miami could get back to that next level. But the problem is you're going to have a lot of fans who are automatically clamoring saying, oh, we got a former Miami player. It's all about the U. National championships are coming in. I have bets with 2 people at my station right now who think that Miami will be a 10-win team next season. They're not going to be a 10-win team. They should on paper be a 10-win team, but they won't because they will mentally choke in at least 2 games next season. Mark my words, Miami. I'll give you a hot take here on March 16th. University of Miami will not win more than 8 games next season. And I'm not saying they won't beat Florida State, but Miami will not be better than 8-4 next season.
So, Jason, you will know that when I believe you have made a hot take that I can capitalize on, I jump on it. We've wagered a few times. That one I'm not going to, because I think it's very iffy. I see this Miami team as being better than, as you just mentioned, 10 opponents on its schedule. Texas A&M's better, Clemson's better. So if they lose, if it's chalk, they should be 10-2. But to your point, I took hell from Miami fans last year for picking them to go 9-3. Or we're better than that. We're going to go 10-2 or 11-1. Well, they go. So I get beat up for picking them 9. Well, I overestimated them. They went 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
The 8-4 season, or 8-3 season in the COVID year, I nailed perfectly, 8-3. The year before that, and I've pointed this out to Miami fans who think I'm a hater, that the season before the COVID year, 2019, I picked them to go 9-3. No, I picked them to go 8-4. That was their 6-6 year, 6-7 with a bowl loss. So I've overestimated them.
It's a fact that we've played into here, and we're in a state of Florida right now where we're all in that same boat. You've got a Florida State team that's underachieved now for the last 5 seasons, a Miami team who you could argue has underachieved, I'd say, the last 4 seasons, and a Florida team who theoretically, I know you're going to say, oh, they went to the Cotton Bowl last season, but also they went from a team that could have made the playoff to a team that went 3 straight losses last year and then a 6-7 season last year. They're 6-10 in their last 16 games. So I feel like right now the state's big 3 are all underachieving.
Please support us here at the Voice of College Football. There's a number of ways you can do that. We got a Florida State show. Bingo, here it is, each and every week with Jason Parker, NBC6, typically Logan Robinson, hopefully enjoying a vacation, we think, Noel Game Day. And our guy James still working on his Wi-Fi, but our guy Big Game James Coleman. We appreciate the effort, James. So we got Florida State content for you each and every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And so please like, share the videos out on social media, subscribe. Super Chat's available as well. And here we go.
Plus, tune in because you never know where Mark will be coming to you live from. Whether it's going to be Connecticut, Ohio, maybe next week, Texas. We don't know where Mark will be. Where in the world is MarkRogersTV, the Voice of College Football?
Well, the tally right now, as far as this channel, or maybe not this particular channel, but the series of channels has been available. I know that I've been live from, Connecticut, Ohio, Texas, Florida, Colorado, California, at least those states.
Well, so where in the world is MarkRogersTV, Voice of College Football?
Jason, you saved us this week. Appreciate you being here.
Not all heroes wear capes. Somewhere backwards, Nike, FSU hats, and Florida State shirts.
Everybody, we will see you back here next week. We've got more people on the line, as is usual, after 60 minutes than at any other time. So you know what you do. Just wait a couple minutes. The video posts. You can watch the rest of what you missed. Jason's hot takes on Miami and Florida.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Sizzling.
All right.
Bacon.
See you all back next week.